And he asked, "Who is it?" And the voice said, "This is the Lord." And asked if he trusted. And the man said, "Yes, I trust. I trust you, Lord." And the voice said, "Let go." And then there was a pause. And after a long time, the man shouted in the dark again, "Is anybody else up there?" That story pretty much sums up our walk with Jesus. It sums up in many regards our walk with Almighty God. Because while we can say that yes, we trust God, do we trust God completely? And the honest answer is no. Because the trust and even the love that we have for God has limits. There's a limitation to what we ascribe to God. This story we would have heard from Genesis. The sacrifice or the Akedah, the binding of Isaac. Gives us a blueprint, more or less, for what is expected. Indeed, this story is the foundational story of Judaism and indeed Christianity in a very complex way. Because it is out of this story that human sacrifice is halted. Abraham lived among tribes who sacrifice children, who sacrifice people by the thousands. And you might ask yourself, how is it that a story of human sacrifice somehow makes it into the Bible? But is it really a story of human sacrifice? Because after this story, the psalmist later tells us the sacrifice of God is a broken and contrite heart. It is not necessarily a story of human sacrifice, but of human condition. And there are a number of things that point to this as well. The question is, why would God, our loving God, demand such of one of his faithful? Many of us consider ourselves to be faithful, and then we get some other questions. Why do bad things happen to good people? Chances are, good things happen to bad people too. But that is not even the story. The story is about trust. The story is about faith and believing. Because if we go along with human sacrifice, it paints a story of a very bitter and vindictive and cruel God, and we need therefore then to justify God's actions. And we seek to do that because we say God tested Abraham. Why would God even ask Abraham to kill his son? His now only son. Remember last week from the reading, God sent or directed Abraham rather to listen to his wife and to listen to him, and sent his firstborn along with the mother out into the wilderness to die. And now this strange God comes for the only remaining son. So the promise is now completely and utterly destroyed, because God promised Abraham that he would name all nations. And instead of waiting, they went along with human design and they got a son. And then God made good on his promise and gave him the promised son, showing that he is a God of promise. He's a God to be trusted. These events did not just happen. We need to understand that Abraham was walking with God for some 35 years or so, experiencing God. But how many of us experience the love of God but still do not believe. I, for one, don't believe that Abraham somehow thought that he would have to sacrifice his son. I think he knew full well he and the boy are going along back home. I believe so. Look at what he said to his servants. Not just his servants, but the better word is slaves. Stay here with the donkey while me and the boy go yonder. We will worship and return. Stay here with the donkey while me and the boy go yonder. We will worship and return. Abraham trusted that God would provide. He knew that God would provide. Further to that, when Isaac asks about the lamb, because we get the impression that poor Isaac, good ignorant to what is going on, where is this lamb? And Abraham responds, God will provide a lamb for himself. Not that he will provide a lamb, he will provide one for himself. Abraham trusted God. Abraham was given the assurance by God, you will get a son. And he got a son. He was given the assurance that Ishmael and Hagar would be okay, and they were. Now God makes another request, and he follows, because he trusts God. How many of us can honestly say that we trust God? Despite walking with him, seeing what he can do, experiencing what he does, we still have our reservations. This is not about human sacrifice, I said. This is about human condition, where our lives are built around people, spouses, children, jobs, friends. And when any of these things somehow don't seem to be going right, or what we perceive to be right, we somehow assume that our world is falling apart. But consider this. When life seems to be falling apart, because of the workings of God, it is actually falling into place. I had an uncle that used to say before he died, there's never bad happening, whatever the happenings may be. God is in charge. If you believe it or not. If you want him to be or not. When we waste time trying to be in charge, that is just it. A wastage of time, because God is in charge. Abraham knew full well the God that he served, and he trusted. Can we honestly say that we trust God? That we are willing to let go of a particular position? Abraham was willing to let go of his only son. How many of us are willing to let go of our children? Some parents don't even want them to leave home. It is about letting go. Understanding that God is best, knows best, and will give us the best. Despite how dark it seems, God has our best interests at heart. Can we trust God? We can say yes, but do we trust God? I ain't hear nobody grumble anything, no. We trust God, yes, sometimes. You trust God all the time? Most of the time. Good, I know. Me too. Because, and the folly of it all is that we trust humans. We trust everything else except the God who continues to prove himself over and over again. And it sounds good. But trusting God is second only to forgiveness. We can speak about forgiveness, we can sing about it, we can pray about it. If our hearts are not in it, it will not happen. Trusting comes close on the heel of forgiveness. Because we can come and sing and pray and shout and do all those wonderful things, but if our hearts and minds are not right, we will never trust God. Because this is my life to live, and I need to guard myself. Do we need to guard ourselves against God? There are many positions that we need to let go of. Abraham was willing to let go of his son Isaac. Are we willing to let go and honestly say to God, have thine own way? The story of the cliffhanger ends like this. He was found in the morning, frozen to death, 6 feet off the ground, simply because he did not trust. Sometimes God simply needs us to let go and to put our feet on him, a solid rock, and to walk. Many of us will die clinging to the branch or the position that we think is life-saving. God is calling us to walk on solid ground, to trust, to believe, to know, as Abraham knew, we will worship and we will come back. God is calling us to something higher. He sent Abraham up a mountain, and that mountain was named God Will Provide. When you think of the providence of God and all that he continues to do for us, can we not rename our jobs God Will Provide? Can we not name our homes God Will Provide? Can we not get a bumper sticker for our cars God Will Provide? Can we not look at the life that we live and honestly say God provides? He has promised to. He fulfills that promise. We are called simply to trust. He provides. We just need to trust. Amen. I invite you now to stand as we reaffirm our faith in Almighty God in the words of the Nicene Creed. We believe in one God,